Hello everyone, this is Caitlin and you are watching Zombie Eats Books. So I have a book haul. I did not break my 2016 book buying rules. It's just that these are some books left over from 2015 that I have not yet hauled in a video. And these are all thrift shop books. They were all probably around $1. And yeah, so let's get started and I will show you the books. The first book I'm going to show you is Sula by Toni Morrison. I have not yet read Toni Morrison. I have Solomon by Toni Morrison. I haven't picked it up yet, and I saw this for cheap, so I thought, why not? I'm sure I'm going to like Toni Morrison, but it's about two young women who are childhood friends, and then they end up taking very different paths in life, and then they end up meeting when they're older, and I don't know much more about it other than that, but it sounds good and it was $1. I also picked up a book from the early 20th century, I think. It is a mystery series, the first in a mystery series called The Case of the Gilded Fly by Edmund Crispin. I am always looking for mystery series from that time period that I might possibly fall in love with. I haven't yet fallen in love with any, but I'm hoping that this might be the one. If that seems like a strange desire, it's because I used to watch Hercule Poirot with my parents when I was younger. It was on the BBC Mystery Channel, and I just fell in love with that series. I love the atmosphere of it. I love Hercule Poirot's character, and it was just so fun. And I read the book versions, Agatha Christie's book versions of that series, and I didn't like it as much as I liked the TV series. So now I'm back to books looking for something that might be similar to that, but that I like better in book form, if that makes sense. I also picked up a French novel. It's called Bel-Ami. It's by Guy de Maupassant. Sorry, I'm absolutely pronouncing that incorrectly. I know I am, but I don't speak French. So this is about an ambitious young man who wants to rise in the ranks of French society. And I'm sure it's filled with scandal and sex and money and all sorts of things like that. So it looks pretty interesting, and it says it's supposed to be one of the finest French novels of its time. I picked up a Richard Yates novel. I haven't yet read Yates. This is Cold Spring Harbor. It's about a failed marriage, I think possibly two failed marriages, and I'm guessing it's not going to end well. Pretty short book, so it shouldn't take me that long to read it. A book that I've been wanting to read for a really long time is Middlemarch by George Eliot. I've read The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. I really enjoyed that book. I thought that the protagonist in that book was just a really strong female character, and I'm looking forward to reading more of those strong female characters, hopefully, in this novel. And I don't really know much about it, actually. All I know about it is that when people say they like George Eliot, they've usually read and loved Middlemarch. So I thought that it was a must-read for me. So I picked up Cranford and Cousin Phyllis by Elizabeth Gaskell. I wasn't seeking out Cousin Phyllis, I was just seeking out Cranford, and Cousin Phyllis just happens to be the bonus novel in here as well. But Cranford is a book that I've been wanting to read for a while, mainly because I read North and South and really enjoyed it, but it also had some really unnatural elements in it, I thought, meaning that Gaskell sort of puts her characters on these soapboxes, and it doesn't seem very natural in the narrative, and I wanted to read something lighter and wittier by her and see what that was like as, you know, compared to North and South. So I'm hoping I'll really like this. I have seen all the film adaptations of Elizabeth Gaskell's books, and Cranford was definitely one of my favorites. It was very light and witty and felt more like Jane Austen than the other ones did, and I love Jane Austen, and I'm pretty sure Elizabeth Gaskell hated Jane Austen for some reason. I don't really know the story behind that, but I've just heard that. I'm sure that she would be rolling over in her grave if she knew that I wanted to read her books, because I wanted to read one that was more similar to Jane Austen's work than her other works. Anyway. This next book I picked up because I read the synopsis on the back and it just really intrigued me. It's Enduring Love by Ian McEwan. I read Atonement by Ian McEwan, and that is such a beautifully tragic story, and it's written really well, so I thought, why not with this one, even though I haven't heard anything about it. It is a strange sort of synopsis. It's about a guy that helps rescue a kid that is stuck in a runaway hot air balloon, and this other guy becomes involved in it, and something happens where these two individuals, their lives begin to intertwine. I think the guy ends up becoming obsessed with the protagonist or something like that. And it affects his marriage and it affects other aspects of his life. So it sounded really interesting. It's kind of vague, what it's about exactly, but I'm looking forward to discovering what that is. I also picked up two Elizabeth Moon novels who I've never read before. One is a sci-fi novel and one is a fantasy novel, and they both have really cheesy covers. The first is the fantasy novel. It's The Sheep Farmer's Daughter, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but that's the girl's name, the protagonist's name, and they just call her Pax for short, so I'm going to go with The Deed of Pax. And it is about a girl who is expected to live the life of a sheep farmer's daughter, but she doesn't want to do that, and she wants to join the army instead, so she does that. I love strong female protagonists in fantasy and science fiction. I mean, I love them generally, but especially in fantasy and science fiction because I don't see it as often. I don't see it done really well as often, I should say. The sci-fi book is called Trading in Danger. It is also the first in a series, and it is also about a young woman who is expected to follow in the footsteps of her family. In this case, it's the family business, which I'm not sure. I think it might have something to do with trade, but she wants to join the military instead, so she does that. And yeah, it sounds really good, and looking forward to reading it. That's all I have. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.